So if you're not fed up with me by now, I promised ladder stitch, which I'm going to use the same piece of fabric just because it's got a nice folded edge. This isn't something you would use for hemming. This is used, things like closing up seams, the last seam on a soft toy or the last seam on a bag or a wallet. Once you construct it inside out, and then right at the end you turn it the right way round, and then you've obviously got a tiny seam the whole way you've turned it inside out through that you need to tuck all the raw edges in, and you need to sew it virtually invisibly from the outside. So what you're usually left with to do that is something that looks a bit like this. You've got two folded edges of your right side fabric that looks a bit like that, and you have to sew it up so that it's as invisible as possible. So if I fasten my fabric on, fasten the thread on, just ignore me for a minute. There we go. Because this would be on a bag or a wallet, this would just be a section in it. Would be, you'd have a seam up to there and you'd have a seam up to there. So this would be your only bit of opening. So you'd fasten on your thread somewhere in there on the inside. And then again, because I'm right-handed, I usually sew right to left. Okay, I'll stop wobbling this around, making you seasick. So at the moment, my thread is coming out from the bottom folded edge. So I'm going to go down exactly opposite on the top folded edge. I don't know if you can see there where I've put my needle in. So if I bring it closer, blue thread's coming out there, my needle's gone in there. So that is, once I pull that through, this is what's called ladder stitch. That will make like one of the rungs of the ladder. If you imagine the ladder's going to go this way. And I'm going to bring it up a little way along, like that. So that's my first stitch. And as the thread pulls those two folded edges together, you can see it's almost invisible. And now my thread's coming out of the top edge, and I'm going to go opposite down on the bottom edge. I hold that thread out of the way. Oh dear, there we go. And I'm going to make the second rung of the ladder with the thread pulling in just there. If I leave it looser, there we are, you might be able to see the ladder a bit better. And you keep repeating that. The good thing is you don't have to pull it too tight while you work, because there's no sort of going backwards over your stitching. So I've got a knot in the thread, that's annoying. So it all tightens up at the end. So up and along, and this is going into the bottom, down and along. This one's going into the top. And then I'm just give it a little tug, and it closes everything up. So there, I've got it sewn together. Once you pull it, it's almost invisible from the front, and you could turn it then and do exactly the same going back, working into all the little gaps between, making extra rungs between the rungs you've just sewn for extra stability, and then fastening off at the end. And that is ladder stitch. And you use that in knitting as well, to sort of, if you were putting a sleeve into an armhole, you'd use that stitch. And I think you might use it on a plique as well if you're doing, if you're attaching like patches of fabric onto the top of other patches of fabric. So if that was my base fabric and this was my shape, I'd probably be doing ladder stitch between the two to attach them on. So there we go.